To start animating your bouncing ball, you need something for it to bounce on. Go to Create, Polygon Primitive, and make sure that Interactive Creation is selected. If it's not, whenever you select an object, it will just appear in the middle of your grid. If you want to be able to draw the size, make sure once again that Create, Polygon Primitives, Interactive Creation is on. And then from your Polygons menu, I selected a plane, which is this diamond with 4. That draws one face, so if you remember normals, the bottom, which doesn't exist, will be black. The top, which should, is gray. From there, draw a sphere. Now, to draw a sphere, you can want to make sure that it's actually smooth. So click on Channel Box or Attribute Editor. Both will have this option under Polysphere, but I find it a little easier to find in Channel Box. Click on Polysphere to see the options, and then Subdivision Axis, 20, 20. Now we're going to be moving this, and I find that animating in just the perspective can be a little difficult. For instance, you may draw a ring and think that they're lined up based on the angle you're seeing them. But then when you go to move it, especially if it's up in the air, if we look in another view, so I'm going to turn it to this view right here, my 4, you'll notice that even though they're close, this is still a little under it and cutting through the object. So I look at all 4 of my views whenever I have an object. To animate it, first, what I do is I look at my front view and I test how it's moving. From there, I frame my perspective. So I zoomed in on it, and if I think this needs to be a little bigger, I can scale it up. So that I can see the ground. From there, I can either start my ball in the air if I wanted to keep its form and squish, or I could make it look like it's jumping. To make it look like it's jumping, double click on either the Scale tool, Move tool, or Rotate tool, and what you'll get is this option that says Edit Pivot. Select Edit Pivot, and then I find this easiest in the front or side view. Zoom in and move this pivot to the bottom of the object. Now you should be able to use the Scale tool to animate, but I've had a lot of students say that hasn't been working even after they reset the tool. So if I want this to be squished, I can also scale it over in this channel box. What I'm going to do is select my Move tool again, which remember is W on the shortcut key, and at frame 0, set a key with S. You can hit the button S, like snake, to set a key. So hit that on your keyboard. From there, I might want it to squat down at about 4 or 5 to look like it's jumping. I can do that by decreasing my scale. And I might set it to 0.5 or 0.6. I hit S again. You constantly move the frame to where you want it to be. So from there, I can go to Windows, Animation Editor, Graph Editor. As long as you have the object selected, you'll see the animation. I'm focusing mostly on the Y movement, so I'm going to go to my Translate Y, use the same navigation tools, and what I'll notice is no wonder it doesn't look like it's moving in an arc. This point right here is drooping down and almost making an S shape. So if I move that up, once again focusing on that slow ease and out, saying it's moving slower and going faster as it gets to the top. And now my ball is moving in more of an arc. From there, I may want this to squish into the ceiling. Now, if I resize my tool, if I resize this to 1, you're going to notice that it squishes down on that bottom axis. We could change the pivot point again, but since this is going to be a minor motion, I would recommend using the grease pen or a grease pencil. What this does is it allows you to draw so that you have a guideline of where something is. So I know at this frame, my top intersected there. Now what I can do is go ahead and move this object up and over